there any particular breeds that are more noise intolerant than others?
Yeah, genetics does play a real role in this. So there are always going to be genetically dogs that are more anxious from puppyhood, really. So I'm sure all of the vets and nurses listening can think of breeds of dogs that will come in and be on their table for that first vaccination, and you know already that they're a little bit anxious. So dogs that, for example, collies are a prime example. They're just genetically set up to be more anxious about things. So the chances of them developing a fear-related problem later on in life is greatly enhanced. But also there's obviously breeds of dogs out there that are generally a lot calmer and seem to be a bit more bomb-proof for things. So Labradors are always the ones that come to mind. But the sensible thing to do is to try and get our owners to think about seeing the parents of puppies before they get them. So you can look to see if the mother particularly is anxious, because maybe if she is, she's then maybe not a puppy that you want to jump to get unless you've got the time and the effort to be able to help them get over that general anxiety. But also to think about the socialisation period, so to give them an opportunity to experience things and make sure that it's a good, positive experience during that socialisation period, to try and make them a little bit more protected to developing fear-related problems later on in life, really.
Very good. And just on to the next question. So here in Ireland, can vets refer to COAPE behaviourists who work on vet referrals and also the APDT? You know, Ireland has few behaviourists that have professional members fully qualified and assessed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're wanting to refer a behaviour case, then ideally you want to seek out who you have locally and what qualifications they have. One difficulty we have here, as no doubt you have over in Ireland, is the fact that behaviourist isn't a protected term. So, unfortunately, there can be people out there that say they're behaviourists and actually haven't got particularly lots of experience or necessarily been through been through qualifications to actually prove that they've learnt the right way to do things. So I'd always check out people before you refer them, just as you would for any medical case or any surgical case that you have. COAPE is a great organisation, and we do work with them here in the UK too. So they have to go through lots of different levels of learning in order to be qualified, so they're great people to look for. Dog trainers, it depends whether they're purely a dog trainer or whether they have got some more of a behavioural bent. So again, it's just a case of checking out and seeing what they've learnt, where they've learnt it, and really how happy you feel with the techniques that they use.
Sure. Yeah, no, thanks for that, Sarah. And just moving on to the next one, why should we use the Adaptil 2 or 3 weeks before fireworks?
Okay, there was a myth that went around that it had to be 2 weeks to use Adaptil before any potential fireworks, or it wasn't going to work, and that's just from a study that was published in the Vet Records back in 2003 that used Adaptil 2 weeks before fireworks as part of the study. And the reason that time was picked was because we want to just generally lower the level of anxiety that a dog's feeling before an event that is going to be perceived to be fearful or create anxiety within them. So it's just if you or I were going to be sitting down and doing an exam, we're going to do a lot better hopefully and be able to cope with it a lot better if we're relaxed while we're doing it rather than if we're feeling anxious. So ideally we want to be using the pheromones a couple of weeks before the anticipated event occurring, just so we can lower the general anxiety levels, and which would help the dog to cope with what's going to happen.
Sure. Okay. Can a collar be used when you have more than one dog in the house?
Okay, this always depends on why you're using the collar. The collar is a great choice because you've got your pheromones that are going with you everywhere you go, but the difficulty can occur if you're using it for a dog that potentially has issues with other dogs, because they have the pheromone on them, and if you're going to have close contact between the dog wearing the collar and other dogs within the house, and therefore they're going to detect that the pheromone's there, and they may just be more interested in the dog wearing the collar. However, if the dog's wearing the collar, its problem is its relationship with other dogs, this actually might make their situation worse. So normally in situation, having the diffuser plugged in the home is a better option.
Sure.
However, if it's just over fireworks and general anxiety with that, and it's only one of your dogs that really worries about it, then maybe the collar would be a good thing to use.
And will the dog actually be sedated when it wears the collar?
No, it doesn't sedate them. So all it's doing is just reducing the anxiety of the anticipated event. So anything that's happening, it helps them cope. So we know that, for example, with fireworks, it's not going to take away all of the signs that you'll see. So it's not going to take away all the pacing potentially, or salivating, or any of those sort of things, but it's reducing the level. So they're able to still show the behaviour, just makes it less intense, so that they, from a welfare point of view, are having a bit of a better time of it, so they're coping better.
Sure. One question's just come in live here. Can the pheromones be used whilst a dog is pregnant?
Yes, they can. It's not going to affect the pregnant dog at all. So if she finds the fireworks season worrying, or has a problem with loud sounds, then having the pheromones should actually help comfort her, and experiences that she's feeling is going to have an effect on the puppies that she's got growing inside her too. So we want her to be having as calm a time as possible.
Another question's just come in here, Sarah. What is the typical life of a collar?
Okay, the collars last for a month. So as soon as you open them, that clock's starting really. So the idea is pop them on and use them for that whole month. People do talk about taking them off and putting them in the freezer and paper bags and things like that. The trouble is we can't guarantee then how much longer you've got. So really, once you've opened it and you've popped it on, you've got a month then. Okay,
well, here's another one that's come in. If your cat does not suffer anxiety, what are the advantages of using Feliway?
The reason that Feliway can help during this period of time is because it's a change of routine that we're obviously advocating by shutting them in. So if your cat does spend quite a lot of the time outside at night, you shutting them in is obviously going to be a little bit of an annoyance to them, because they want to be out and about. And also it's quite interesting, the number of people that don't provide enough resources inside for their cats during this period of time, and a critical one is litter trays. So the chances, obviously, if you're starting to having spraying problems and things like that, if you're not at least providing a litter tray inside, can make a huge difference. So many of the households in the UK have more than one cat, and often a way of cats coping with each other is actually spending time away and avoiding each other. So actually, if you're making them spend longer period of time all together in the house, then actually that can start creating problems too. So you're using it more of a preventative to prevent them showing signs of anxious behaviour, rather than treating it to help them again cope with what's going on with their change in routine.
Okay, here's another one that's coming in, busy tonight. How long does a 48 ml of Adaptil last for, and should it be plugged in continuously, and do dogs have any withdrawal if you stopped using Adaptil? That's all come from one.
That's lots of questions.
Yeah.
So the vials that go in the diffuser, they all last for a month. And the idea is that it is plugged on continuously, and actually if you do keep turning them on and off, you can affect the lifespan of the plug unit. So we advise the actual plug you plug in is replaced every 6 months. So the idea is to plug it into the room where your dog's going to spend most of the time, which is usually where they sleep, and during this fireworks party season, next to where they would run to feel safe. So either the den you've created or the spot that they use that's safe. The spray lasts only for about 4 hours. So if you're just going to use the spray, you're going to need to be replacing that every time that you want to be using it. The important thing with that is remembering that it's an alcohol-based spray, so you need to leave 15 minutes before doing that initial spray and actually the dog coming into the environment that you sprayed.
Okay.
Did I answer all of that?
I think you did, yeah. This one here, do you think it's possible for a 6-year-old dog that for years has never coped well with fireworks and even burst out through a glass window? The owner has never liked the use of sedation. Do you think the dog would benefit from Adaptil?
It's going to benefit from the point of view that it's going to be feeling less anxious about it. But my concern with this dog is the fact that it's the length it will go to escape to safety. So I suppose the thing to be thinking about there is where is the dog trying to get to when it's going through the glass window? Where was it getting? Was it getting to the owner who didn't happen to be there, or was there somewhere else where it feels safe? So for this dog, I think it'd be really important, A, to be looking at really providing somewhere safe for it to be, but because of the extreme response that this dog is giving, considering using some sort of medication alongside would be a really good idea. So it's not that Adaptil's not going to help, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough of a response to be able to make that dog feel comfortable enough during the fireworks season.
Sure. Can the Adaptil collar cause skin problems on a dog with skin allergies?
It's made out of a hypoallergenic plastic, and it's quite clever because the plastic then's got pores in it which open up with the dog heat, so that's why once you've fitted it, it takes up to about 30 minutes for it to start releasing the pheromone. The buccal area is actually a slightly firmer material, and it does have sort of 90-degree sort of angles to it, which is something that we're trying to get changed, because we know that some dogs with lots of skin in that area sometimes have it rubbing a bit, which can then obviously make it sore. So it would depend on the sort of skin that they have, but generally it doesn't. But obviously if they are very sensitive, it would be sensible to just keep an eye that it isn't rubbing on that buccal area.
Another question, can you confuse puppies if they are still with their mum by using Adaptil?
No, you can't. In a way, you can't have too much of the pheromones. So I always talk about walking around in pheromone bubbles being a good thing. So it's not going to affect the puppies. It's just going to, in a way, give the message from the mother even more strongly. And actually, I know some breeders do use the Adaptil if they have a bitch that they feel that's not bonding very well with her puppies, because it just seems to increase the message that they're having. And of course, if she's anyway feeling more anxious or worried about things, and then you've got the fireworks happening, actually having that comforting support for her can be of benefit too. Okay,
do I have to shave fur of long-haired dogs before I put the collar on?
Okay, this is a common question. No, you don't. It does have to be snug to the skin because it's got to get that body heat in order to open the pores up in the collar material. But you do literally just have to part the fur around the neck area and just make sure it's sitting on the skin. You don't have to actually shave the hair away. Thankfully, no grooming required.
Okay, let me see, do I have any other ones come in here? Can vitamin B supplements help lower stress in dogs and cats?
B vitamins do have a role in reducing stress, and I know that there's some supplements out there that you can get that will have B vitamins in them. Whether they have a strong enough effect on their own to make a difference, but in my mind giving them isn't going to make matters worse for you, and obviously they're water soluble, so if you have too much then you're going to excrete them from the body anyway. So if you're adding that in along with other things that you're doing, then so be it. Obviously for me, making sure you've got a den, which John, Peter, myself spoke about quite a lot during the video, is really critical. So that